Now, the court has ruled that some of the provisions of the National Health Insurance Act are unconstitutional. The ruling relates to the certificate of need, which requires the government to approve the locations of some of the practice families. Joining us is the Health Minister, Dr Aaron Motsoaledi. Dr Motsoaledi, a pleasure to have you on the program this evening. Can you firstly explain why the Health Department believes that the recent court ruling on this certificate of need does not actually impact the national health insurance, as has been suggested by some critics?
Good evening, Tanda. Good evening to the viewers. Indeed, we stand by that because NHI, whether there's a certificate of need or not, NHI will go on. It does not depend on a certificate of need. We have heard some people claiming that the certificate of need is a cornerstone of NHI. Part of the reason, Tanda, is because people do not understand what NHI is. NHI is a healthcare financing system. It talks about money. When you are sick, where do you get the money to get treated? Because those who are better off have got cash or have got medical aids. So NHI is called universal health coverage, meaning everybody is going to be covered. We are not going to have a situation where only 14% of the population are covered when they are sick. There is no crisis in their families. They are not going to get poor. They don't have to sell some of their possessions in order to get good care. That's good health care. That's what NHI is. That's why it's called universal health coverage. Now, the parts which have been declared unconstitutional by a court of law are in Act number 61 of 2003. It was passed in 2003. It's about a certificate of need, which is about quality and also distribution of health facilities in the country.
I want to crystallize that point. You mentioned that the sections declared unconstitutional were drafted, 20 years before the NHI Act. How do these historical contexts then affect the relationship between the certificate of need and the NHI?
Well, I'm asking people who are saying so. All I'm saying is in 2003, the Department of Health drew up a National Health Act, which was replacing National Health Act 63 of 1977. That National Health Act of 1977 has got a section 44, which also talks about licensing of private health facilities. Now, when in 2003 they passed the new act, it replaced that one. Now, in 2002, they went further than just licensing and spoke about a register of needs. And you are aware that then NHI was passed only 20 years later, in 2023, after exactly 20 years.
Minister Motsoaledi, broadly speaking, it seems there does exist a perception that the court ruling is a major setback for the NHI. How does the department then plan to address these misconceptions, but also to reassure the public about the NHI's future?
Well, look, there are 2 cases already, and we expect more on Tanya, against NHI. It's a case against Solidarity. Brought by Solidarity against the department, and the second case brought by BHF, Board of Healthcare Funders. It so happened that Solidarity is again the main party that took National Health Act 61 of 2003 to court. And they are the ones who emphasize on this issue of NHI, because they are saying now that they've won this, they believe they are also going to win the battle against NHI. Well, they may as well, but all I'm saying is this judgment that was made on Wednesday is not about NHI. It's about Section 36 to Section 40 of the National Health Act 61, which was passed in 2003 and came into operation in 2005 without these sections coming into operation at that time. That's all I'm saying. If Solidarity or whoever takes us to court and win a case against NHI, which they may as well do, we don't know, it will depend on the judges, that will be a different case altogether. Now, the 2 cases that are in, the courts have not even yet determined the days on which they are going to sit. We are all waiting, we don't know. Now, we believe the shout to say, yes, it's a victory against NHI, is to weaken the resolve of people about NHI, or to make the public believe this NHI is already gone even before it starts. But the truth is that the case has not yet said. We are waiting for the court to set the date. If it says the date and Solidarity say, yes, we have won against NHI, well, that will be true. But at the moment, it's against National Health Act 61 of 2003, and it's about section 36 and 34. I mean, sorry, 36 to 40. That's exactly what, I mean, that's exactly what has happened. The relationship to make them get married to each other and all that, to us, we believe is part of propaganda against NHI.
Minister Motsoaledi, quite interesting is that your department has also pointed out that many countries with similar certificate of need schemes do not have NHI. Can you elaborate on how these international examples support your position that this, regarding the scheme and that the NHI is a separate issue here?
No, all we said is we gave an example of 15 countries which have got this certificate of need, but they call it in different names. We have put a list of X there, what in each country they call it. In the US, they actually call it directly a certificate of need, and it's found in 35 states in the US out of the 54 states. Is it 52 or 54? But 35 states have got a law about that certificate of need. And what we're saying is those countries many of those countries never spoke about NHI or universal health coverage, but they do have laws on certificate of needs. We mentioned here a country like Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, where they even do it by decree. They say it's a decree passed in 1992 about the healthcare facilities. Because what the certificate of need does are two things. Number one, when you apply for a facility, can we be guaranteed of the quality of care that will be in that facility? The quality of the facility itself and the standards. There must be some common standards that are set. That's number one. Number two, is that facility needed where you want to place it? Is there a need, or are you just rushing there because maybe everybody else is there? Now, if you look at the pharmacy, the pharmacist of the country, that law already applies to them inside the Pharmacy Act. You can't just put a pharmacy anywhere you want in the country.
So, on a personal reflection, Dr. Motsoaledi, and also having returned to the health portfolio, what immediate steps will you and your team at the Department of Health take to really ensure that the NHI implementation remains on track? Are there any adjustments or even alternative strategies being considered here?
Nkandla, what I said in my budget speech, and later on, the president said it when he was opening Parliament. We said it at different times and separately, but it was the same thing. That we do not know anybody who stood up and said they don't want universal health coverage, meaning covering everybody financially. They say we are not against it, we support it. There must be some form of transformation in health because the equality is very glaring. I mean, the inequality is very glaring in our country. So they said, we support universal health coverage, we support transformation in health, but not in this manner in which it is. And my question was, could they then come and we sit down and say, okay, in what manner don't you want it? You can't just say, look, I don't want this thing, it's not good, throw it away. I don't want it in this manner. You ought to be able to say, if it is in that manner, it will be better. Then we'll start talking. Because there's no need in rushing and fighting each other when the main objective is, can the people of this country get equal health care, whether you are rich or whether you are poor? That is the main thing here on the table. And people can sit and talk. We have been able to talk even more difficult things in South Africa. If you consider the issue of apartheid, we've been able to come together and find each other and have the democracy. Recently, we're able to find each other on the government of national unity. So I don't see us being unable. And I'm already outlining quite a number of meetings, aligning a number of meetings in order to listen to people exactly in what is that which is offending you about NHI, because you said you support universal health coverage.
Mr. Minister Motsoaledi, as we wrap up, the ruling is expected to be reviewed by the Constitutional Court. How confident is the department that the higher court will uphold or, like some are saying, even overturn the current decision?
They are not going to review it in Canada. The Constitutional Court is not going to review it. It is a law in this country that any court that declares a law passed by Parliament or a section of it unconstitutional, that ruling must be confirmed. That means that unconstitutionality must be confirmed by the Constitutional Court. Otherwise, it won't come into operation. So what we are waiting for is a confirmation by the Constitutional Court, not a review.
Right. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi. He's the Minister of Health, really providing clarity on the recent court ruling and its implications for the national health insurance.